Taylor Swift is one of the most loved artists on the planet. Her music breaks records, her tours sell out in minutes, her influence shapes pop culture in ways few celebrities ever could. But there's something rarely discussed, something hidden behind the sold-out stadiums, friendship bracelets, and emotional lyrics, a side of her fandom that many people are afraid to talk about. Because the moment you do, the backlash begins. This isn't a story about Taylor Swift herself. It's about what happens around her. It's about the fan culture that grew so powerful, so organized, and so aggressive that even critics, journalists, and casual listeners started to stay silent. And the question nobody wants to ask is simple: when does love turn into control? It usually starts innocently. A fan defends Taylor online. Another fan joins in. Soon, thousands are involved. What looks like support quickly turns into something else entirely. Someone unknown posts a mild opinion, not hate, not disrespect. Just an opinion. Within minutes, replies flood in, screenshots are shared, old posts are dug up, personal information gets exposed. And suddenly, one comment becomes a public execution. What's shocking isn't just how fast it happens. It's how normalized it has become. Over the years, Taylor Swift's fandom, known as the Swifties, evolved from passionate supporters into a digital force that many compare to an online army. They trend hashtags, they dominate comment sections, they influence media narratives, and sometimes they silence opposing voices. Journalists began to notice something unusual. Negative reviews disappeared, critical opinions softened. Some writers admitted they avoided discussing Taylor altogether, not because they disliked her, but because they feared the reaction. This is where the dark side begins. Because when people stop speaking honestly, not out of respect but out of fear, something has gone wrong. But how did it reach this point? Part of the answer lies in Taylor Swift's storytelling. Her music feels personal. Her lyrics feel intimate. Fans don't just listen, they connect, they see themselves in her songs. They defend her like family. And that emotional bond is powerful. Too powerful. Fans began to believe they were protecting her. Even when she didn't ask for protection. They analyzed her relationships. They investigated her critics. They tracked timelines, decoded lyrics, and created theories that blurred the line between art and real life. Some fans crossed boundaries that should never be crossed. Private locations were shared, flights were tracked, family members of people connected to Taylor were targeted. And every time criticism appeared, it was met with overwhelming resistance. What made this situation even more complicated was Taylor's silence. She often speaks about kindness, about empathy, about understanding. But when fan attacks happened, she rarely addressed them directly. That silence became controversial. Some people believed she couldn't control millions of fans. Others believed her silence was being misinterpreted. And some believed the chaos actually benefited her. Because attention, even negative attention, fuels visibility. But there was a moment when things went too far. A critic shared a thoughtful review of one of Taylor's projects. No insults, no personal attacks, just analysis. What followed shocked even seasoned internet observers. Thousands of comments, threats, reports, attempts to get the critic fired, a coordinated effort to erase one opinion. That incident forced a difficult conversation in pop culture. Is intense fandom still harmless when it starts damaging real lives? Is Taylor Swift responsible for how her fans behave? Or is this simply the cost of being the most famous artist in the world? What most people don't realize is that the fandom itself is divided. Not all Swifties support this behavior. Many openly criticize it. Some fans quietly left the community altogether, saying the pressure to constantly defend Taylor became exhausting. And that's the part nobody talks about, because loving an artist shouldn't feel like joining a battlefield. As Taylor's fame continues to grow, so does the power of her fandom. And with that power comes consequences, some inspiring, others deeply troubling. But the most shocking controversies are still ahead. As the Swiftie fandom grew stronger, something unexpected happened. The same community that once united fans through music began turning inward, questioning itself. Fans started calling out other fans. Some said the behavior had gone too far. Others argued that intense defense was necessary in a world that constantly criticized Taylor Swift. What followed was a civil war inside the fandom, a divide between unconditional loyalty and healthy support. One moment in particular exposed just how fragile the balance had become. A longtime fan posted a thoughtful thread explaining why they didn't connect with one of Taylor's recent projects. They made it clear they still loved her music. They weren't attacking her character. They weren't insulting her artistry. But the reaction was brutal. They were accused of betrayal, of being a fake fan, of helping the haters. Their account was mass-reported. Private messages flooded in, and eventually they deleted everything and disappeared from the platform. That moment sent a chilling message. Inside the fandom, disagreement was no longer welcome. Even public figures started noticing the shift. Some musicians admitted they avoided mentioning Taylor entirely, not because of rivalry, but because they didn't want the attention. Comedians quietly removed jokes from their sets. Content creators disabled comments or added disclaimers before speaking her name. This wasn't about Taylor Swift as a person. It was about the environment surrounding her. An environment where one wrong word could trigger thousands of responses. And yet, Taylor herself remained mostly silent. Occasionally, she spoke about kindness, about lifting others up, about choosing empathy, but she never directly addressed the fan behavior that was dominating headlines. For some fans, that silence was understandable. For others, it was disappointing, because when a fandom becomes this powerful, silence can feel like permission, even when it isn't meant to be. The internet began asking uncomfortable questions. Is it fair to hold one person responsible for millions of fans? Can any celebrity realistically control a global fandom? Or is this simply the unavoidable consequence of fame in the digital age? Psychologists weighed in, explaining that intense fandoms often form emotional identities around artists. Criticism of the artist feels personal, like an attack on the fan themselves. And when identity is threatened, people react defensively, aggressively. What makes this situation unique is scale. Taylor Swift isn't just famous, she's omnipresent. Her releases dominate headlines. Her tours redefine the industry. Her fanbase has influence most brands and movements would envy. And with that influence comes responsibility, whether she wants it or not. But here's the part that rarely gets mentioned. Despite the controversies, the Swiftie fandom has also done incredible things. They've raised money for charity, supported mental health awareness, built global communities, created spaces where people felt seen and understood. The fandom isn't evil, it isn't broken, it's uncontrolled. And that's the real dark side, nobody talks about. Because when passion turns into power, and power goes unchecked, even good intentions can cause harm. Taylor Swift's story is still being written, so is the story of her fandom. The question is no longer whether the fandom will change. It's how. Will fans learn to separate love from loyalty, support from silence, defense from domination? Or will the fear of backlash continue to shape how people speak online? One thing is certain. As long as Taylor Swift remains one of the most influential artists on the planet, the conversation around her fandom will never truly disappear. And maybe, that conversation is exactly what needs to happen. If you found this deep dive insightful, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more in-depth stories about pop culture, fandoms, and the hidden truths behind celebrity power.